ready to start? All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It is August 17th, 2022. We're here at 7 o'clock with the Parks and Recs Committee meeting. My name is Tracy McGraw. I'm the current chair.
Yes, you are.
Chris?
I'm Christine Lavoie, co-member or member.
And also vice chair.
I'm Rick Grenier, the MYA liaison.
Laura Janes, regular member. Yeah, the green light's on. Yeah, turn it on. There you go.
Cameron Gomont, the student representative.
Beautiful.
Phil Perezuski, member.
Lon Woods, Town Council Rep.
Naomi Halter, School Board Rep.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Michelle Croswell, Member and Secretary.
And Matt Kasparius, Director of Parks and Recreation.
All right, thank you, everybody. Before we get started with tonight, I just wanted to welcome Cameron Gomont. She is our brand new student rep. Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Cameron's a senior at Merrimack High School. We've already told her she has to find her replacement or she's not allowed to graduate. So there we go. We're ready. Welcome, Cameron. Thank you for coming. All right, so has everyone had a chance to take a look at the massive packet of last meeting's minutes from June? Let's go ahead and take a minute and take a look at those so we can pass those. Tonight. Next. Nobody was here. Okay. Is everybody ready? Okay, we had a chance to read the minutes. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from the June 2022 meeting?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Anyone second? Excuse me, second. Laura, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I vote? I wasn't here.
No, but
No.
you're an abstain. So who's
I'm
the yes,
abstain.
please? Phil, you're
If you were there, you're a yes. If not, it's an abstain.
okay. So yes. So yes is 1, 2, 3,
Three.
4 yeses,
Yes.
and there's no no's. So abstain is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Laura, you can't abstain and yes. You just want to be included.
So Phil, Christine, and myself.
I think so.
And Rick also was not here. He had his counterpart here.
Right.
Okay, all right, let's move on to tonight's agenda. First thing on the agenda is going to be the election of officers. We were going to do that back in June, but 2 out of 3 of the current officers were not present, so we didn't think it'd be a great idea to go ahead and place them without their okay. Yeah. So we have up for is the chairperson, the vice chair, and the secretary. Matt's not giving up his office, so we're good.
Would you like it?
No.
Get from high school until you.
All right. Do we have anyone? I've already put my name in. Everybody knows that. I would like to stay, but if someone else would like to be chair, that's okay too. Is there anyone who wants to nominate anyone for chair?
I nominate Tracy for chair.
Yeah, I think you're doing a good job.
Well, thank you. Okay.
Do we need a second or no?
We,
Just a vote.
you want to just vote on all?
I think we
Let's get a
technically should
second.
do it one at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a second on that, or do we have anyone else that wants to nominate someone else for chair? Lon?
I second the nomination.
Thanks, Lon. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
9. Yep.
Yes. Yay. No, it's 9. You did good. All right, now vice chair. Christine, go ahead, say something.
Hi, I'm Christine Lavoy, and I will run for vice chair again unless somebody wants to take the seat. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, Laura is nominating. Phil is second. Is there anyone else here who wants to put forth a nomination for vice chair? Okay, all in favor of
Phil.
Christine being vice chair? Yes, you can.
Perfect. And then
Like we said, Cameron, we have fun. All right. Okay, and the last position, albeit not the least, is secretary. Michelle?
I would like to nominate Michelle.
I would like to second Michelle.
Are you gonna kick somebody? Michelle, are you good with that nomination before I ask everybody?
is there anyone else? I'm gonna
Is there anyone else who would like to put forth a nomination for secretary? Yeah, no.
She's got a download science.
so who?
Kind of like me, Michelle, it's a position for life.
It was Laura and who's second?
Laura and Phil,
I remember that.
wasn't it?
Laura and Christine.
Oh, Laura and Christine, I apologize.
You got it.
All right, all in favor of Michelle remaining as our brilliant secretary?
Absolutely.
There should be a stipend.
Nice.
She didn't vote no.
No, yeah, I gave her every opportunity, okay?
That's true.
Thank you.
All right, so the next issue, you good? The next issue we have is there's possibly a change for the September meeting. Christine and I have spoken with Matt, and there is a conflict with a presentation that Matt has to do during our normal meeting for that time, which is what's the normal meeting for September?
The normal meeting is September 21st. It's the third
Right.
Wednesday, and I'm going to be out of town and actually out of state. I'm going to be at a conference in Arizona that week. So I won't be here. So we have kind of three options. We can move it up a week to the 14th and still meet here in this room. We can push it back a week to the 28th, but we have to go downstairs to the memorial room because this room's booked. You guys can meet without me.
The meeting would last 5 minutes,
Well, that's not a bad thing either.
or we could not have a meeting with one
Or
of
we
your
can not
other
have a meeting and
options.
go to October.
Well, how does September look? You got a lot of things going on.
No, September's okay for me. And like I said, the room's available. It just depends on kind of 14th or for 28th if it's better one the other than for people.
For me, the 28th is better, but it all depends on what works for everybody, really.
I'm going to start and ask Cameron first. Do you have any kind of cutoff, any kind of deadlines or anything for the 14th, which is obviously a Wednesday, the second Wednesday, or the 28th, which is the fourth Wednesday?
No, I'm good with anything. I don't care.
Laura?
I prefer the 28th. I think people are very busy in the beginning of September with school startups, and,
Good point.
Another good point.
but we'll be in time for Halloween, so.
By a whole month.
Right.
Rick?
I'm flexible either date would be fine.
Okay. Michelle?
28 works. Prefer
Mimi?
the 28th.
Lon?
Whatever.
Doesn't impact anything with town council?
Shouldn't.
No.
Okay. Phil?
I will be in Aruba.
Oh.
So the meeting's in Aruba.
All right, there we go.
Works for me.
Okay.
Unless you all want to come to Arizona with me, but
So the meeting's going to be in Aruba. Okay. All right. I guess if
28th.
everybody's in agreeable, let's go ahead and stick with the 28th of September.
and again, that'll be downstairs in the Memorial Conference Room, but I'll send the reminders as I usually do.
All right. Reviewing of capital improvement projects.
All
Matt,
right.
you get to start.
Yep. And Colin,
There we go.
we have these fancy TV screens in front of you, so you don't have to crane your neck to see the screens, which is kind of nice now. So, historically, our 5-year capital plan gets submitted to the town in October every year, and then gets reviewed kind of throughout the winter, before it goes to town meeting in the spring. Well, this year, shortly after our June meeting, they announced a change in their schedule, which was 5-year capital projects had to be in July 21st. And since we don't meet in July, obviously, I had to put in our projects without, consulting you, because usually our September meeting is when we have that discussion. Now, what we've done essentially is continued with our existing 5-year plan. I haven't moved anything up from what we talked about last year. It's obviously, we finished last year's projects, and now it's just everything moves up a year. But so we basically have 3 projects on for this year that I'm going to kind of go through here. Come on. So the first one is the town has taken possession of a parcel of land on Pearson Road, which have been advocating for to turn into athletic fields. In 2010, the Athletic Fields Committee produced a report at that time that said we were short 21 fields in town based on the needs. Those needs have only gotten worse in the last 22 years, 12 years, whatever it was. Obviously increased participation, and one of the challenges that we face is that our fields from spring, summer, and fall are booked pretty much 7 days a week, all hours of the day, and so that there's no time to kind of rest our fields. Our fields are in fair shape, but they're not in great shape, We rely a lot on Colesman, and we have used Budweiser in the past and other non-town-owned sites just because we don't have enough, particularly for MYA's needs. And so we are certainly hoping that we'll be able to get the funding this coming year for 2 athletic fields at what's known as Greenfield Farms on Pearson Road. And so what's in front of you here is a drawing created by our town engineer, Don Tuamala. And what we found is that we can fit basically 2 athletic fields. The first field is a multi-purpose, field hockey, soccer, lacrosse. It is 195 feet by 330 feet, so it's essentially a full-sized field. The second field would be a small-sided soccer or multi-purpose, whatever needs to go in there, but 135 by 195. The challenge with this site is, as you can see from the map, is there is a nice section of kind of wetlands right in the middle of the parcel of land. So we have to kind of put one field below the wetlands and another one above it. The only other alternative would be where the small soccer field is. You could also do, we've talked about softball there, although I think the multi-purpose field is more versatile for town needs and particularly for MYM needs. The other challenge is if you put softball there, the field orientation isn't right. You end up with the batters and pitchers with sun in their eyes, which creates a different kind of challenge. So this is kind of what our kind of working plan is. This site would have parking for 70 parking spaces, and then restrooms and those types of things. As I said, we have some wetlands issues to deal with in the middle of the property that requires permitting and those types of things. At this point, the estimate that we have is $810,000, and so that's what we've put into the capital improvement project for next year. So that if this gets approved, essentially money becomes available to us July 1st of 2023. So next summer, with work presumably starting in the fall, or maybe late summer. But with that said, there is the potential to apply this coming winter for funding from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which can provide up to a 50% match. It's a federal grant. A lot of it depends on, there's a formula that the federal government gives out every year that says, okay, each state gets X percentage of dollars, and I won't know until the winter months what that percent is, and one of the restrictions on federal grant money is that obviously you have to keep the property open for both residents and non-residents, and I know there's been some concerns with that at other places in town, the skateboard park being one, Watson Park, but obviously this is an athletic field. We don't restrict any of our athletic fields, and so I can't imagine why that would be a concern here, but I bring it up just because sometimes there has been that concern of being kind of gun shy about federal grants. But it is one of those federal requirements. But if we can get half the cost paid for, then for an athletic field, then that'd be certainly very nice. But, so that is project number one.
Matt, I just have a quick question.
Yeah,
With the wetlands in the middle, where would be the walking paths between the parking lot?
there would probably be, some sort of small bridge to cross over.
Okay,
We haven't, it's not on the plan here, but, my guess is that it'd be closer to the roadside, but we'd have to go up and over the wetlands somehow, so.
I wasn't
like-
sure if there was a way you could walk down, if you look past where the wetlands are, it kind of.
Possibly, I don't know the site well enough yet
Okay,
to say that, but, either there's room or there'll be a bridge, one of the
Okay.
two. Yes, Rick?
Here's my question, because you may have discussed it in the meeting on Jackson, but if we did decide to do a softball diamond in that spot.
Yeah.
How did we already determine which way that would be facing? In other words, why couldn't we potentially turn it around or something like that?
The challenge becomes those wetlands in the outfield, and so it really only, and I have the other drawing that shows it, I don't have it with me tonight, but I have the other drawing in my office. It only fits in kind of one way,
Okay. And was that based on a regulation-sized softball field?
Yeah.
Okay.
so, I mean, if you think softball would be more versatile to MOAA, I mean, we certainly have time before those discussions come up, but,
I don't want to say that, but this is obviously exciting news for us, and
Yeah.
we'll be sure to discuss it at our next meeting.
okay, good.
And
And
give you
that's,
some
and again, this
feedback.
is all contingent on funding from the town next, this coming year.
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions on this project?
Yeah, the lot that's shown just by map to the north of the parking area,
Yeah.
is that a residential lot?
the one that looks like it's 90 by
I
90.
don't think so. I think it's a utilities or like,
Maybe.
Bathrooms?
no, it's not a permanent structure. It's,
Oh,
because this was a field that was donated, that's been an undeveloped field, so I think it's like, access to like, pump house or something, yeah, exactly, that's the word I was looking. Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
that was the word I was trying to find. Okay? Yes,
it certainly looks like they really worked hard to get the fields in. Is there any way, I mean, I don't know what the regulations are for the small field or anything like that, but is there a way that the parking lot could be shifted over 30 feet closer to Pearson
I-
Road? Add
I-
that onto the field? I don't know, I'm just
I
asking.
don't know, my guess would be that there's a frontage setback that you have to be so far
Could
from the
be.
road, would be
Yep.
my guess.
Just thought I'd ask.
Dawn, the town engineer, obviously that's what she does all day, so, she wouldn't have pushed it that far over if it didn't have to be.
Sure, just wanted to try and maximize those
Yeah.
fields for the kids as much as possible.
All right, good, all right, so the next one is Wasserman Park. So, we're trying to fix the Park Road system. We've been having problems for a few years now, but last year when it was raining on like a weekly basis and we'd get these like torrential rainstorms over almost every single week, we were, the road kept getting washed out. I probably had Public Works over there 5 or 6 times from July, just in July and August, trying to patch roads, and what was happening is it would wash out, and it was actually all ending up on the tennis courts. Because it would, just the way the angle of the road, it was pitching down, and so we were out there having to like sweep tennis courts like every single time it rained, and right now it's just kind of beat up and ugly. Now, this picture here shows the entrance road just past my office. When this road was built back in the 60s, this was never designed really for, never designed for two-way traffic, but also never really designed for a high volume of traffic. Back in 2015, when we turned the site where the old dining hall used to be at the bottom of the hill into parking for residents, we had to make this two-way road to allow for people to get down there and get back up. In theory, what's supposed to happen is when you get to this point where this picture is taken, If you see somebody coming up, you're supposed to yield and let them come up, and vice versa on the other end, you're supposed to, In actuality, what ends up happening is they kind of drive onto the grass and pass because they don't want to wait. And so the end of the pavement all buckles and cracks and just kind of falling apart. And so, so that's one of the problems we're trying to solve. The road isn't big enough for the 2 lanes here. And so for this first part of the project, what we're looking at is to widen this section of road here to 20 feet, which is the recommendation for Public Works. It allows emergency vehicles to get down and still allow kind of for that 2-way traffic. In the grand scheme of things, the project is this red shaded image on the screen that we're trying to cover here. So the going down towards the tennis courts would be 20 feet wide, and then it makes the turn over towards the function hall and comes back out. The turn and going back out would only be 16. We don't have 2-way traffic on that section of road, so we don't need to widen it as much. So the estimate from Public Works at this point is $200,000 to just do that portion of the project. The second portion of the project is trying to improve access to kind of a park's amenities. One of the things we see a lot is when people are coming to the function hall, to the sports fields, to the playgrounds, to the tennis courts, is they don't like to park from the parking lot, in the parking lot behind my office or in the parking lot by the dog park. They like to park on the lawn, they like to park on the basketball courts, they like to park on the field in front of the sign that says, "Do not park here." And so, combined with that, we probably 5 years ago now, we started renting out the function hall. This past year, we did almost $10,000 in rentals on the function hall for kind of like Friday, Saturday, Sunday rentals, mostly at night. And so one of the challenges with those types of rentals, why we have kind of outdoor motion lights and some park security lights there, it's not, a stadium parking lot by any stretch of the imagination. And if you're parked in, say, the parking lot behind my office, and you're walking across the lawn with all the jumble of rocks and things, and I don't have a great picture of it, but just to the right of where this picture is taken, there's about a 6-foot swatch of just all jagged boulders and whatnot. And so if you're coming here for a wedding reception, which we've been doing a lot more of, or some other formal events, and you've got people dressed up, it's a little hazardous. At night, in the winter, in snow, spiked heels, or even if you're parked in front of the camp office or at the dog park and walking down the hill in the winter when it's icy, similar kind of issues. And so what I'd like to do also as part of this project is where you see the blue box on the screen, is to build another parking lot, similar to what we did at the bottom of the hill with, it'll probably be kind of the millings, compacted but not full pavement, but something solid enough that I can pave and stripe the lines and make it, functionable. But now it's a much easier walk to the function hall, for the sports fields, to the playground, and maybe it solves some of my other parking challenges that we face down there. And the other thing that it does is, one of the things that's somewhat humorous is every time it snows in the winter, and we put up signage and says, and we tell our program participants if they're going to an event in the function hall, unless you have 4-wheel drive, do not drive down the hill.
Yeah.
Inevitably, within an hour of posting that, somebody drives down the hill and they get to this bottom, and I didn't bring my pointer, but they get to that bottom corner, that back corner of the function hall where the turn is, and they get stuck.
Yeah,
Usually it's a minivan or something, but
Yeah.
almost every single time it snows, they get stuck. And so by putting the parking lot up above, it will obviously have an entrance on the right side and an exit on the other side. Now they don't have that steep hill to climb back up, and hopefully it'll solve some of those problems. So we're looking at this point in talking to Public Works, we can fit an additional 30 spaces here. And then those 30 spaces, it looks like about $30,000 for that parking area. So $230,000 for this project. The road we have to do it. The parking lot solves a lot of problems and would be really nice to do, but we're already working right here, so it'd be really nice to do it all at once. Questions on that?
And isn't that where the other empty place was, the cabin?
Yeah,
that
what used to
you
be known as the
demolished?
NYE cabin, and
Right.
that was torn down 4 years ago now, I think. And it sat vacant for 10 or 12 years, I think, before we finally tore it down.
Okay.
But it's
Thank
kind of just above the basketball courts, which you can see here on the map.
Matt, when I look at the map logically, I'd like to see the red go all the way up to Natticook Road. Is it not needed, or is it an expense issue?
It's not as needed.
Okay.
The biggest need is that entrance section from my office down to the tennis courts. There's some pavement issues on the exit side by the function hall, just where it's buckling on the edges and stuff, but it's not, and once you get up above, it really isn't a big issue.
Thank you. And one comment on the blue box parking area.
Yeah.
Is it true to say that this would also be an asset for your camp program during the summer too?
Not really. It wouldn't necessarily hurt or help it. Right now we have we've been using a drive-through drop-off system at camp for 4 or 5 years now. And they actually drive down to the tennis courts and loop back up again. So I have a nice long loop for, when we get at 8 a.m. until about 8:10, they're backed up from the function hall all the way back up to my office, but for about 10 minutes. And then from about 3:45 to 3:55, give or take, those 10 minutes there, same thing. The parking in the middle would help sometimes, like we've had for 30 years now. Kevin O'Leary, if some of you know him, runs his basketball camp there during the summers on those courts. And so sometimes parking with that it would help him more, certainly. Summer, for us, it doesn't necessarily help us, but certainly school year would be a big help for us.
Chrissy?
So Matt, going back to a previous discussion in another meeting so long ago, we had talked about speed bumps and related to the speeding issues found specifically at Wasserman. And it's not just the kids, it's the parents. I'm late to pick up my kids, or I'm just driving through, or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be some way of expanding upon the current speed bump system?
Yeah, we actually we had 3 sets of speed bumps in here originally. We added a 4th one. Again, I wish I brought my pointer with me, but with the new one we added this year is as you're first coming into the park, just beside the garden, there's a little bump and then it drops. And so particularly the kids, they like to fly off it and kind of jump off it. And so we put one there, and that's helped some of the problems. Then there's a set just past my office, kind of to the right of where the blue box is. And then we have another one. Let's see, do we have 2? We have one as you go down towards the teardrop towards the beach. So 1 through 3. I was thinking we have 4. 1, 2. Maybe there's 2 between my office and the tennis courts. I can't remember now, but
So-
it's been better. We've had the police put out their speed trailer a few times. We find it's a lot of the same people all the time, and
Right.
James and I have certainly chased a few people down the hill when they come in doing 50.
Yeah.
I've gone down the hill after a few of them, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I mean, there's 200 kids running around, and
So
it's
is there any thought or possible discussion to making them permanent and B, bigger? Maybe not all of them
Bigger,
permanent,
maybe,
but some of them
um,
need to be bigger because
we
it's not
we
helping.
take them out in the winter because otherwise the plows would destroy them. They're rubber and they bolt into the ground, so we can take them out when winter sets
Oh, I
in.
know, yeah, but,
And they work fairly well. I don't know if bigger, unless I do really hard plastic ones.
just something to think
So,
about.
sometimes people complain about them because you hit those far, then, you can do some damage to your car with some of those. But I don't know. It's a work in progress with those.
Right.
I have a question that kind of feeds off of what
Yeah.
Rick was just talking about. I know that we have on that one, and I don't have a pointer either, but on the road that's gonna be, adjacent to the day camp, that goes down to the function hall,
Yep.
you can go down that road, but you're technically not allowed to come up from the lake and go up that road.
Right,
Is,
technically.
is there a way to, well, technically, right, and I'm sorry, but yes. Is there any difference in cost if instead of widening the road that comes down in front of your office, leave that as a one-way down to the base just past the function hall where it kind of Ys, and then leave it one way out, going past the function hall, going out?
I wouldn't want to, and the
Okay.
reason is when, particularly during the summer when camp's there, we tend to have lots of kids gathered on that side of the roadway. And, coming and going from archery at the top of the hill, they walk right down the road. I don't want somebody
Okay.
driving up fast to get out they're coming from the lake and they're heading up. And again, just the traffic, especially with drop off and pickup times a day. I don't want to be dealing with calls all day because, I got stuck in the traffic, of camp drop off, pickup, they do anyway, but it's easy. And it's also, there's more room on the tennis court side to widen it without impacting other things. I don't have as much room to widen on the other side
Okay.
because it kind of goes up and around a corner, and so.
Anybody else have any questions on that part? Lon?
Thank you, Tracy. Matt, when you conceptualized the parking lot where you're showing us,
Yep.
did you consider flipping it 90 degrees and setting it in that area just off the road and just off the Netticook end of the function hall?
Well, the idea, first of all, just above that blue box is a line of trees. I can't flip it 90 degrees because there's a steep section of hill there.
I'm talking about bringing it on the other side of the road, right next to the function hall, or as close to it as makes sense.
Oh, there's no room.
No room? Thank you.
No, there's no room there.
Oh, I know where he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's steep and hilly there. This is the kind of flattest piece of ground that we have right there in that whole area, so.
Well, the other advantage is you can access it from both sides, right?
Right.
So if you come down, park, and go out, if you have it on the other side, it's still through the loop, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
so. Other questions on that? Okay? All right, the next one I don't have a slide for, but one of last year's projects that was not funded was a request actually from MYA for irrigation at the football practice field at Wasserman Park. At the time, they didn't feel we had enough information, so the town manager had tabled things while we could get some more information. So, which we think we've done. But so the football practice field, which is out, and again, I don't have the full park map here, but actually, you can see it here. So if you look on the kind of the bottom left corner of this particular map, you can see it says athletic fields, and that's the area where football practices. And on any given night from August to November, there's 100+ kids every single night from 5 to about 8 o'clock at night. And it's a big open patch of grass, which is nice for them. They have room to spread out. The challenge is by the time we get to the end of August, especially when it doesn't rain, it's more or less a dust bowl. And I've seen videos that coaches have taken in past years where literally like the kids are playing in just a cloud of dust, which is not very healthy for them. We actually put in an outdoor spigot on the function hall, and MYA was actually running 1,000 feet of hose out to it to try to water it down when it gets really bad. We've had the fire department come out and soak the field when it gets really bad.
Wow.
And it's not a great solution. And so, again, just dust clouds and health hazards for kind of trying to play in that. So we're trying to solve that, and one of the things we'd like to do is put irrigation out there. We had the idea with irrigation, obviously the grass will grow a little better, will hopefully last a lot longer than August, and will allow them to be able to continue practicing there. And because one of the challenges when it gets really bad is then they shift to another field, And now football by the nature of football kind of tears up fields. And so you don't want them wrecking a really nice soccer field, for example, because they can't play where they normally play, can't practice where they normally practice. So we have an estimate from State Line Irrigation, who handles all the town's irrigation contracts, for $50,000 to run irrigation out to this site. We're actually estimating 60 in the budget, only because of, you never know, one, with ledge, and two, with inflation costs between now and hopefully next year, what that may look like. Again, and we won't really know until we dig into the ground to do it, so hopefully $10,000 should be enough of a cushion to kind of cover both of those question marks. And again, we'll make that a much nicer place for them to play, which then eases the burden of them moving, like I said, to some other field and squeezing somebody else out of another field. Questions on that? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the last one that I'll just mention really briefly, officially is on my list for not next year. So next year is 2023, 2000, hold on. 23, 24. So officially, the next this last project is 24, 25. But I'm going to talk about it here because it's getting a lot of talk in town lately. And so there's always a chance that it might get moved up. So obviously last winter we finished the beach renovation project. People think it's great. We're getting a ton of usage down there.
It's beautiful.
We were obviously able to replace the swimming docks. We took the old docks and made a fishing pier, which is working out phenomenally. The one big complaint we've gotten this summer, obviously, is those new stairs. That side of the beach isn't accessible, ADA accessible. In the original plans for the beach, there was plans for accessibility, but then when we went for our permits, the state wouldn't allow us to take out the 3 giant pine trees, and it kind of made us rechange our plans, so it couldn't be done the way we wanted to do. Phase 4, and so again, if you're looking at, do I have a picture of the beach? No, I don't. So if you're looking at this picture here, you're looking obviously up from the water side. So on the left-hand side of that picture, you can see the new stairs coming down, which is what we just finished. You see those kind of circular things. Those are the pine trees that I just mentioned. I don't know what you call them, but
Starburst.
Starburst, thank you. That's the word.
Yes.
But so the next phase will obviously deal with the right-hand side of the beach when you're looking at the shoreline. We'll do kind of a similar perched beach like we did on the left, but this will build in the accessible access. Now, as you get closer to that pine tree, the steeper that slope goes, so this will solve some of that. Over on the right-hand side, you can see, if you look closely, you can kind of see 2 parallel lines coming down from the park roadway. That's that accessibility path that'll come into that side of the beach. It's a lot flatter over there already, but it'll be a 1 to 12 slope, so you'll be able to get down to the water. And kind of, right now, that's kind of in line with where most people launch kayaks and canoes and, that kind of thing. We will have to relocate our existing boat racks that we have further over towards the theater to the right, but that's not a big deal. And so again, I mention it now, even though it's technically not this coming year's budget, only because, like I said, there's been some discussion in town about it. I've heard some calls have been made to town council members about it, so it may come up this winter, encouraging the town to move the project up a year. So we'll see. Officially, it's still in the budget for a year away, but I'm just mentioning it just in case things change. So that's the next 2 years. Beyond that, right now we have for 2025-26 will be lights on our new fields at Greenfield Farms, those that we're hopefully building this coming year, as well as replacing the lights at Martell Field, which are getting to the end of the softball field, which are getting to the end of their lifespan. which has an estimate of $390,000, and there'll be, energy efficient LED lighting, much better than like Martell Field, the lights are 20-plus years old. They're just old halogen, bulbs that break almost every summer. In that same year, I'm hoping to hopefully in 25, 26, also hoping to finish the basement of the function hall. It's 2,500 square feet of unfinished space. It's heated, it's sprinklered, and I could do a lot of things with that if I had the money to finish the space, which right now looks like at about $100,000. Versus like right now, we use the cabins throughout the park in the summer, but they're expensive to maintain, and they can only be really used for about 8 weeks in the summer, and only by us. I can't because they don't have irrigation and things, I can't let the general public use them, and those kinds of things. So they have kind of limited functionality. They're really great when we have rainy days, but beyond that, they're expensive to maintain, and I could do a lot more with the 2,500 square feet in the basement to finish. The following year is our placeholder for the skateboard park, and that's going to be whether we stay where we are, and hopefully in the next 2 years we'll figure out from the school district if they're going to let us stay there, or if we're going to finally move forward with a new site. The revised estimate we have, and I just talked to the company this year, or one of the companies that does skate park equipment, basically a slightly better version of what we have now with modern materials is $175,000. But we're getting to the end of the lifespan of the equipment we have, so we're going to have to spend the money sooner than later anyway. The big question mark is whether it'll be where it is or whether it's going to move. And then to round out my 5 years, in 27, 28, right now, we tentatively have lights at the dog park, so to allow dog park users to use it in the evenings, particularly in the fall, winter, and spring when it's dark at 4 o'clock. And then the other one is a backup generator, or a generator for the function hall. Probably 4 or 5 times a year, we lose power over there. We've had twice in the last couple of years, we've had water lines burst in the basement, and fortunately I have security cameras down there, and so it alerts my phone when it happens, so it doesn't go for days on end without me noting it. But we've also had, like this year, the day after we got our first food order, I had $3,500 worth of food ordered. The next day, the power got wiped out in the whole neighborhood. And I almost lost $3,500 worth of food that was in those freezers and fridges.
Almost.
And fortunately, Eversource was able to get us back on within about 3 hours. But I mean, if that had gone through till Monday,
Yeah.
okay, now it's the first day of camp. How are we going to feed 150 people?
Pizza.
So unfortunately it's an expensive bill because we have to upgrade the panels and things. So it's a $25,000 investment, but peace of mind of, particularly in the winter with pipes bursting and things like that, since again it has happened twice now in the time that I've been here, so it might certainly happen again. So that kind of rounds out our 5 years. Any thoughts on any of that?
Matt, one question I didn't catch is an estimate for Phase 4 beach.
Oh, yes. The Phase 4 beach is $100,000.
Thank you.
We won't have to do any dredging like we did on the other side. It's a lot cleaner over there, so it's all just shoreline work, and then obviously the grading for the ADA accessibility piece, in dealing with the tree roots and all that is the big expense there. So.
Yeah, but much cheaper than the recent phase.
Yeah. The last phase was 130, but part of that was, a lot of that was because we also had to dredge the lake. So, and of course, inflation goes up, over the last couple of years. So.
Thank you.
Along that same line, I didn't catch, what is going to be the cost of putting the lights up for the dog park?
$20,000.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Lon?
I don't know what's gotten into me tonight. Matt, the 2,500 square feet at the bottom of the function hall,
Yeah.
it occurs to me that with some planning, there might be a chance for revenue for renting that space out? Do
Absolutely.
you have any estimate as to an annual or? and
Not yet.
Okay.
We've kind of talked about it, but, you know, one of the challenges we have at the function hall right now is realistically, I can only have one thing in the building at a time. I can lock off the kitchen from the big room in the front room, but I can't lock off anything else because the bathrooms are in the back room, or, you know, in the main hall. But if I had, you know, realistically, I can make 6 rooms that are like 15 by 30 feet each, so good classroom, meeting room space, so I could have multiple things going on at once. And like right now, we actually have, and I'll use the fall as an example. We actually have the Merrimack Hawks cheerleading rents our space on the weeknights in the fall. They're there Monday through Thursday from September to just early December. But that means Monday through Thursday nights, I can't use that space. It's nice revenue from them, but obviously if I had downstairs, then there's certainly the potential for multiple things going on. It would also allow us to expand our programming, and having, again, multiple things running at once, that I can't do.
I'm just
So-
trying to build an argument for you for
Yeah, absolutely.
the generator and some of the other
Oh, yeah,
expenses. If you
absolutely.
can increase the revenue, then that
Yeah,
softens
again,
the
we're
blow.
3 years out on the function hall basement, so I've still got some time on that one.
Well, to help you with that one, let me ask you this. What about, you have a lot of businesses that are popping up here in Merrimack, plus the existing businesses. I mean, it could be marketed out as a conference room. It's not going to be fancy, like a hotel or anything, but it could be marketed out as a conference room, lower
Absolutely.
cost, but also a quieter area. You can have outside time. That sounds like a good reason to
Yeah.
make sure that you get a generator and get the basement done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
Phil.
Yeah, just talking from a Merrimack Lions Club perspective, there's no place to meet in town. So if you can provide a meeting space for civic organizations and
Yeah.
service groups for
And we
small
have
cost,
Exactly.
Usually scouts, and we've had Rotary
yeah,
meeting there.
it would
and-
be a really a big deal for
Yeah.
the town.
Exactly. Okay, Lon. Thanks for asking. That was good. All right. Matt, was that it for that section?
That's it for that section.
All right.
I'll be quiet
So,
now.
old business updates from the dog park. Christine.
Yes, hello. So dog park, doing well. We had, is it the Melanson group that came and
Yes.
weeded? So that was wonderful. Always more weeding to do, so if we can get some weeding angels while you're at the dog park. Currently, I think the only thing we need is sponsors for poop bags or poop bags in general, so that's something we need. The other thing to think about that's going around as dog owners is that there's a kind of a bug, a unnamed bug. It's like a respiratory issue that's going around. So if your dog is experiencing any kind of coughing symptoms or anything like that, please don't take them out of your house. Keep them in your yard. Don't even take them on the trails because they're saying it spreads in the air as well as from the ground. So we want to try and keep our dogs as healthy as possible. To my knowledge, I have not heard any dogs being sick yet at the dog park or on the trails. So that's a good thing, but let's try and be vigilant. And, if you have any questions about it, please contact your vet and go from there. And I haven't been there in a few weeks because of being on vacation, such a crime. So Tracy, have you had the ability to go to the dog park last month or so?
Actually, because it was so hot for such a long period of time, the idea of, and of course this brings up another thing, the idea of going to the dog park and standing out where there is virtually no shade, the dogs they struggle when it comes to that. And I know that there's been some talk of donating a plastic kiddie pool. We go through those very quickly. We have labs that love to play with the water, and when they do so, they scratch those pools with their claws. So we go through them rather quickly. But thanks to DPW and to Matt, we have water. So we don't have to carry jugs from the garden. That part's great. As far as the rest of it, I haven't, but I'm hoping that at some point we can start talking to either Eagle Scout or Girl Scout troop that could help us out with the shade problem at the dog park. I've done some research at various dog parks, the ones that we've been to, ones in areas that are similar. And if they have shade, that's great. They usually don't have any kind of cover. But the dog parks that are wide open usually have some section that's in the shade. The only issue that comes with it is we don't want people just sitting there because they need to pay attention to their dogs. So we don't want it too comfortable. But it is becoming more of an issue, and I think more so now because we had so many weeks of it being so hot. So if anybody's listening, if anybody has ideas, please contact Matt Kasparius, and he can help direct you in that. Do we have an update on the dog park fund balance?
Yes, it's $1,693.59.
Oh, it's on there, Tracy. And Matt, you had mentioned that there was a possible pool being donated to the dog, a little kiddie pool?
Yes.
And did that make it to the dog park as of yet that we know?
Don't know. I mean, that call came in yesterday, and so she was just gonna drop it off on her next visit, I think.
Okay.
So.
I'll try and run over there tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we're back to Matt for the
Hey.
director's report.
This is what happens when we don't meet for 2 months, you know?
Well, and this is what would, and look at what would happen if we didn't meet next month without, if we met next month without you.
You know.
5 minutes.
But you'd have a 5-minute meeting, so.
Yes.
So we're almost done with summer, almost. I've got a week and a half to go. It's been an interesting summer. We are, well, first of all, we're running a week later. Normally, this is the week that we end camp. But this year, you know, we opened up camp registration, and originally the school district wasn't going to get out until Friday, the 24th of June. And so that meant we had a lot of high school staff, so we couldn't open until the 27th because we needed the staff. And so again, week later than we normally open, and then kind of last minute it was, oh, the school's getting out on the 22nd or whatever day they ended up getting out. But by that point we were already fully registered and whatever. So we pushed back a week, and it's all good. No, it's not your fault. We pushed back a week to run through next Friday, the 26th. And, you know, we've had some staffing challenges like everybody out there. At one point in the spring, I had twice as many campers registered as I had staff to cover those ratios. So, like, I had 600 kids and I only had staffing to cover 300 of them at one point in March. And we were panicking because usually we're not in that position. And we finally kind of battled our way through and managed to get the staff and overhire a little bit, which was good. The nice thing is that this year we've had our highest enrollment in the camp's 31-year history.
Nice.
Congratulations.
So that's been good. And we could have, the crazy thing is we could have gone even higher than we did had we been able to get more staff. It's kind of like, oh, you want to work? All right, you got a job, you know. You know, one of the interesting challenges, we've never really had to compete with like the Dunkin' Donuts, the McDonald's, the outlets, because it usually in those places it was like you might get 10 hours a week out working there, and you might have to work nights and weekends. And so our sales pitch was, we're going to guarantee you 40 hours, we're going to guarantee you Monday through Friday, so you have your nights and weekends free, and that usually worked pretty well. Not anymore. In this market, it's been people looking for jobs can pretty much write their schedule. They can get full time, they can get $15 an hour, and so here becomes the challenges. And I'll use my lifeguards as an example. We've been for 2 or 3 years now paying $15 an hour for lifeguards, and I pay better than every town around us. Everybody else is like 11 and 12 for towns for their lifeguards. And we've been at 15. Well, now it's, okay, I can go work at the outlets in air conditioning, folding sweaters for 40 hours a week, or I can be responsible for saving people's lives. And I got 3 lifeguards, which was kind of bare minimum. I technically had funding for weekend lifeguard coverage, but I couldn't get the guards to to work. I mean, and this is nationwide. It's not just a us problem. It's an everybody. And so it creates some interesting challenges with all that. Now it's funny because last year, we in a given year for camp, we say, okay, we try not to go up the cost of camp by more than $10. And because, we're trying to be affordable, we get it. I'm a parent too, and when my kids go to camp and they're there this week, in fact, and, I'm paying the same full boat price. I don't get free camp either. And so I know how expensive it is, and so we try to minimize those increases. And so but last year we had to go up $15. And I was like, I hope this doesn't bite us. And, so we set our fees in motion in November, opened up camp registration in January. Well, come to find out, every camp around us went up $40 and $50 to deal with the staffing. So I became the cheapest camp around, which is part of the reason why we sold out so quickly. We sold out in February. Even last year, which was our previous best year, we didn't sell out until the beginning of June. And now it's February, and at one point I was full across the board until I could hire more staff. And so what that does mean is, we're going to have to go up on the cost of camp next year. And it's probably going to be more than $15. It's probably going to be 20 or 25 again. And we hate to do it, but it was a struggle this year. I won't know. I have to look. Once summer's over and I have a moment to breathe, then I can kind of sit back and double check final counts. Obviously, if I go up to, right now we're, for a Merrimack resident, it's $255 a week. That also gives you lunch every day, which is one of our huge selling features. Most day camps do not provide lunch. And I mean, that's $25 right there in meal costs. If I went to, say, $275 or $280, I think I'd still be cheaper than everybody else. Obviously, I don't want to price myself higher than everybody else because I'd want to be full again next year too. And we'll just have to wait and see. We're going to have to kind of, when I get to the fall, we're going to kind of play the guessing game a little bit of, okay, what do I have to do? And, okay, so if I have to go up 20 or 25, what can I then afford to raise staff rates? So right now, my senior college counselors, my 18 and older counselors are making $11.25 an hour to run around in the 90-degree heat, which we've had plenty of this summer. You really got to want to work with kids to do that, which creates a different set of problems. But sometimes, when it's 90 degrees and you're tired and, whatever. Anyway, and so we're, obviously we're trying to reward them and for coming back and, so there'll probably be a couple of $1 an hour increases, $2, $3 an hour increases for next year. Again, I won't know until later in the fall what that looks like exactly, but it's coming. And unfortunately, just inflation and labor costs are kind of killing us like everybody else. So just putting it out there. At some point in September, I'll be meeting with HR and the town manager to talk about it. But we'll see what happens. So that's camp. Week and a half to go, but we're getting there. The kids have had a great summer. We've had almost no rain, which is a nice problem. Good and bad compared to last year where it rained every day. 4th of July was good. Went off with a hitch. Great crowds, great weather. We spent a little bit more on fireworks this year, which showed in the final product. If you were out there, I think you would probably had a good show. So 4th of July was good. No major issues or concerns. Moving on, let's see, movies in the park. We've technically done 3 movies in the park this summer. In June, we showed Encanto, which ended up with about 70 people. Our challenge was the weather. It started raining in the middle of the movie, and the threat of rain kind of scared some people away, and the rain in the middle scared the rest of them away. In July, we showed Spider-Man No Way Home. Ended up being kind of brutally hot, but about 75 people stuck it out. Not a decent crowd, but less than what we would normally get. And then we've got one more this summer coming up on September 3rd, so Labor Day weekend. We're showing Sing 2. at Wasserman Park. And we also did one during National Night Out, which I'll talk about in just a second. And I'll get to your question in a second, Lon. Concerts have been going on all summer. We started back on June 22nd and been there every week all summer long. Our last one was tonight with our children's concert with the library. We've been averaging about 140, although we had 180 tonight, so our average is probably about 150 on the summer. So that's been better than it's been in recent years. National Night was back on August 2nd. Another great turnout, 500 plus people. We had 24 registered groups, kind of business and community groups offering games and activities and food and all that kind of stuff. And then we actually had 2 or 3 that just kind of showed up that weren't registered and said, yeah, we can find you a space. And so we ended up with 26 or 27 groups in total. It was a good night. It's not technically our event, but we helped the police with a lot of the planning aspect of that. And then they had asked us to do the movie, which they sponsored. So again, good night.
And also, of course, we all got to meet Mac.
Oh yes, Mac, the
was
new
there.
police comfort dog.
He's just too adorable for words.
Did you have a question before I move on, Lon? No? Okay.
If you don't mind a comment, the National Night Out was very, very well attended, very, very nice weather, and
Yeah.
a really nice event. And thank you for helping us out.
Sure. Yeah, we've done that with the police for, oh geez, I don't know, 7 years now, I think. It's just kind of, okay, 4th of July's over, what's next, you know? Here we go. Watson Park. As you may recall, summer 2020, we had lots of problems. We ultimately ended up closing the park right around this time of year. I think it was 2 years ago, last week, I think, when that all blew up. Challenges, park closed for the remainder of that summer. The town council had put in a fence to block off access to the river, and it's been closed for that access to the river has been closed ever since then during the summers. It's been open during the winters, fall and winter and spring the last 2 years, but it's been closed during the summers. The town manager reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, saying the council would really like to try opening the gate for the summer. They have a lot of residents that are asking to go into the river. They'd like to go swim. They'd like to go fish, whatnot. We think we should try it again and see what happens. So 3 weeks ago now, I think it was, the gates were opened. We haven't done a major press release because we don't want what happened in 2020 to happen again. So it wasn't widely blasted. And I can't imagine that we're going to have lots of people from far away watching Merrimack TV, but you never know. I mean, they've got a good following, so you never know. But it is open, and it'll remain open as long as people behave themselves. If we start seeing trash and people going to the bathroom in the river and using illegal substances and that type of thing, then we'll close the gates again. But so far we've had, like I said, I think it's this 1, 2, I think we've had 3 weekends now that it's been open on the weekends, or open all the time. And so far, there have not been any major problems, and so we're kind of in a wait-and-see mood and see what happens. Also related to Watson Park, and this is more of just an FYI. So if you look at the screen here, there's a kind of aerial map of the park. And to the right side of the screen, there's a kind of a light yellow line. And you can kind of see behind that there's a bridge that goes over Babusick Brook back there. Technically, it's a public right-of-way to get back there. There's a gate across it. Most of the time, the public can't go back there, and you know it's whoever owns the land back there, whatever. But the bridge needs work, and so there is a construction company right now working back there. And I'm bringing it up because if you go down to the park, you'll see a line of snow fence and regular fencing kind of across the back half of the park. It allows the workmen to get in and out to get back there while they work on the bridge, but hopefully keeps out the people that shouldn't be going back there. They're expected to be there for the next 3 weeks, working Monday through Fridays from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Doesn't impact the beach volleyball courts, doesn't impact the pavilion or the Gaga ball pit, so it doesn't really infringe on anything other than, you know, there's construction fencing up, but I bring it up just in case people see it and wonder what it is. And last but not least, just a information point of whatever, because I don't have enough to do. So in June, I was officially appointed as the president of the New Hampshire Recreation and Park Association.
Congratulations, Matt.
Congratulations, Matt.
Again, I don't have enough to do. This is the association that represents kind of all the municipal park and rec departments in New Hampshire. And so we provide training, we help get them through, how do you deal with COVID? How do you make your camps run better? How do you make your departments run better? And everything else in between. How do you find staff? How do you train staff, So I've been on the board for, 7 years now, and so now it's my turn to take the reins. So I'll be running the organization for the next 2 years. It's a volunteer thing, and it's kind of, on my own time. One of the nice things is when I go away in August, part of going to that conference is they're paying for the conference. So it's not coming from Merrimack taxpayers. So
Thank you.
So it's kind of nice there. But just, again, point of information, we are active both on the state level as well as nationally in that capacity.
Well,
And now I'm done.
congratulations for that. They've got a good leader.
Thank you.
Nice job, Matt.
Nice job. Great job.
All right. Thank you, Matt, for all of the information you've given us. The last part we have here is organizational reports. Let's see, Maureen is not here today, so senior citizens report will have to wait. MYA, Rick?
Thank you. We recently completed our spring and summer sports, which included baseball, softball, lacrosse, and I think that's it. Registration is open presently for football, soccer, and fall baseball. And if parents out there are looking for more information, general information is found at the merrimackyouthassociation.com, and there are links to each sport on that website. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rick. Okay. Bright light. Lon, please, for town council.
Nothing to say.
Wow, okay. The town council's going to get busy again tomorrow night, and I'll have a more full report perhaps a month from now. Thank you.
That was quick and short. Okay. Thanks. And Naomi for school board?
The school board, we haven't had a lot of meetings since the last time this committee met. We're pretty light in the summer too, but we did have our all-day goal-setting meeting where it was facilitated by Primex. And we sat down, it was the 5 school board members and then a few members of administration, and we all worked together and came up with like an idea for the direction for the district in the next couple of years, and it was an amazing meeting.
Nice.
I brought my little handout of the summary. We're actually, our school board meeting that's coming up on the 23rd, I believe, we're gonna do a bigger presentation about all the details, but like the sort of broad things we talked about is we've got 5 things we really wanna focus on. The first one was creating a staff culture and culture among the teachers in the school community and making sure that it's trustful and mutually respectful and that everyone feels appreciated, because staffing issues are everywhere right now. Pathways to graduation to address dropout rates at the high school level and make sure that we're getting kids the support they need, and if they're a kid who's not gonna go a traditional way and get a traditional diploma, that we've got some other options in place so that we're graduating as many kids as we possibly can. Learning outcomes, which is looking at curriculum all across the board and measurable goals for improving reading scores and math scores and just, again, the outcome that we want everybody to learn. We want everybody to graduate. An overhaul of our planning for facilities. And then also our policies and practices, like as a board, working together to update our policies, because we haven't done it in a really organized way in a few years. So it's time to do it again. So those things are all really exciting. Everybody at the school board is really excited. It was a great meeting. And the other thing is school starts 2 weeks from tonight on Wednesday, August 31st. Yeah, it's coming up fast.
I heard that Christmas song. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It just kind of came through my mind again. I remember that. All right. And we do have, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
I don't have my thing on, but thank
Yep.
you.
And Cameron, usually what we do is this for all the different ones, and you're going to be speaking up for student rep. Have you had a chance to get an idea of what's going on with the students over the summer? What's coming up early fall? If you haven't, that's okay. I'm giving you a heads up, though, that, we'll be asking.
Not really as of right now.
A little
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. I know that a lot of people, though, at Wasserman liked the lights on at the basketball courts to play, and they aren't on anymore. But I know people like that.
The issue there was the telephone pole that had the light rotted out and fell down. We're waiting for Eversource to, like the whole light, I came in on a Saturday morning in, when was that? May, I think that was, and it was on the ground. And Eversource came out and took the pole out because it was a live wire and, they dealt with all that. And they said, oh yeah, we'll put in the work order to have them come back and replace it. And we have not heard from them yet.
Oh,
So
that's been a long time then.
it has been, so. We've been otherwise engaged though, so we haven't really had time to think about it.
Well, fortunately, the sun sets at much later this time of year, so
Right.
that's good.
Have you heard any other comments from students about any other aspects of the park that Matt would need to know?
Not that I can think of as of right now.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you. And again, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us. Okay. There's no public here. So, any other comments from anybody here? All right. So, if we look on the next page, our future meeting date we've decided is going to be September 28th.
Yep.
Downstairs,
Yep,
you said,
correct.
right? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? I don't know. It was a toss between all of you here. Lon gets the second. Christine gets the first. All in favor?
Although considering we haven't met in 2 months, an hour and 13 minutes isn't bad.
It's not bad.
No. You're starting to talk more like a New Yorker. She's just going a little bit faster. It's great.
Very focused.